Hi and welcome. I'm Asia King, your licensed professional clinical counselor, and this is Ask a Therapist. Today, we're going to talk about part two of the series, Forgiveness. Now, last session, we talked about why it was important to forgive. But this series, we're going to talk about how to actually forgive. I know that a lot of people say that they do want to start the process of forgiving, but one of the biggest things that I find for my patients is that how do you put that into practice? It's not easy, but it can be done. And it definitely does take practice. So let me go on ahead and thank you for casting in and viewing the video. So let's go on ahead and start. So last session we talked about what is forgiveness. Forgiveness is when somebody is giving you something, but we have an opportunity to give it back. Not in a mean or malicious way, but we have an opportunity to take these things that have hurt us in the past, the things that ruminate in our minds, and we've learned or we are learning to not hold on to them. And we're learning to let them go. So how do we do this? Well, this is definitely a process, but with practice, and it does take a lot of practice, it can be accomplished. So let me provide an example, okay? So there were opportunities in my life where I had to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is not an easy process, nor does it mean that I'm allowing somebody to hurt me or I'm giving somebody permission to do however they want with me or to me. No, forgiveness and me practicing forgiveness was an opportunity for me to learn ways to not stay sick and stuck in my own thoughts. A lot of times with my patients, they find that their life is miserable or they suffer from depression or anxiety because they continue to ruminate on the things that have hurt them. So, how do we practice forgiveness? There are several techniques that I do practice with my patients. One of the techniques that I do is called thought stopping. Thought stopping is a process where, as soon as you realize that you are starting to ruminate or starting to live in the moment of your hurt, you have to stop. How do we do this? Okay, so take, for example, a moment in your life that was very painful for you. I will take something from me, not as painful, but something that I did have to learn how to forgive and move forward. I asked a friend to help me with a car. Now, this friend has not always helped me in the past, but I was really in a crunch. So the friend had initially told me, well, hey, if you need help, just let me know. I'm on your team. I thought that was an offer to ask for assistance. So I did. So when it came time for me to get assistance with my car, the friend said, well, hey, you're going to have to pay me back. Well, I didn't quite take this seriously, but come time for me to have to pay my debts, the friend did ask me to pay the debt back. I felt slighted because the friend knew that I was in a transition in my life where I was not able to pay. And they had initially offered their assistance to help me. So it did really hurt my feelings. And at the same time, it bothered me because this friend, made themselves available or at least offered to make themselves available. But it just kind of seemed like they snatched their offer back. It bothered me for quite a few days. So what did I do? Well, there were moments when I would drive or when I was cooking or maybe when I was in the middle of the conversation and my mind would start to wander on that hurtful moment with that friend. Well, I know I can't live in this type of misery. So one thing that I told you that I practice is called thought stopping. So for moments when I would start to think about this, and I am particularly bad when it comes to thinking about things, especially at the stoplight. I know that you might be too. You know how you're at the stoplight and you're just kind of thinking about life? Well, this is when some of our moments in our lives is when we really contemplate about the things that have happened to us and we become stuck. Just like the stoplight, we stop and in that moment we're not able to go. But with the process of thought stopping, what I'm able to do is I'm able to stop the process of that thought. As soon as I start to go into the conversation that me and the friend had, or the feelings that I start to feel because I felt slighted, I absolutely stop. I'll make a conversation with myself and say, hey, I know that the situation might not be what I expected, but I cannot ruminate or I cannot live in this moment forever. And I start to think about something else. Now, I know that seems simple, but it's hard. But through time and through practice, thought stopping does become a helpful technique to help you move past staying in the moment. Have you ever heard of the phrase, misery loves company? Well, that's very much true. Sometimes we like to stay stuck in our moments. Sometimes we like to stay in that pain. But the longer you stay in that pain, the longer your brain starts to stay in that pain with you. And as we continue to tell our bodies that we are in pain, our body believes that it is. So you'll suffer from depression, you'll suffer from mood swings, you might become irritable, even if somebody stops you in the process of thinking about that moment. But thought stopping is a great technique to help you become more mindful of what it is you are thinking. That's the next technique, mindfulness. Mindfulness is a technique where you are becoming more aware of your surroundings, more aware of what's happening, and not always getting lost in the moment of the hurt and the pain. So say, for instance, right now, for anybody who is watching this video, I want you to look behind me. What do you see? Maybe you see the picture and the tables in the picture. How many tables can you count? What colors do you see in my picture? What about my flowers? What color are my flowers? I don't know if you can see very well, but I have little dots in my wall behind me. Can you count the dots in my wall? This is a state of mindfulness. State of mindfulness is when we become more aware outside of ourselves and start to realize and become more observant of what's happening. So in that moment, when I told you to stop and look at the pictures in the plant, whatever you were thinking about automatically stopped. State of mindfulness helps us to become grounded. It helps us to become more in tune with our environment and in tune with ourselves. And this is a great place when you find yourself becoming angry, upset, or highly emotional because of your thoughts. Forgiveness is not an easy process, like I've said several times, but it's something that has to be done if we're going to move forward. If you find yourself stuck, if you find yourself thinking, if you find yourself in the moment of wanting to recreate that experience that is hurtful to you, take a moment, take a few deep breaths, and start to become more mindful. Look at the walls in your house. Start to focus on things that you normally would not focus on. If you have a clock, count the ticks of the clock. It's hard to concentrate on the pain and concentrate on your surroundings at the same time. Start this process of mindfulness, and then you'll also be able to start the process of thought stopping. Thought stopping, like I said, is the process of being able to catch your thoughts and know exactly what's going on before you start to relive the moment. It's easy to relive the moments, but it's easier for us to move forward if we choose to do so. The goal of these videos is to help us to become happier, and forgiveness is the first path to doing so. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love your feedbacks, comments, and concerns. I'm at Your Vision Achieved in Eden Prairie and Burnsville. The number is 952-225-1575. Again, that's Your Vision Achieved in Eden Prairie and Burnsville. The number is 952-225-1575. I look forward to talking to you later. Next series is going to be part 3 on forgiveness. And what do we do with the pain after we've started the process? Talk to you later, guys. Bye.